All right, I'm here with Tom Hunt, founder and CEO at Fame. Fame is a B2B podcasting agency working with companies like eToro, Ram, Zendesk, Workday, so lots of well-known SaaS companies. And I reached out to Tom to have this podcast because I guess you've been around on LinkedIn for a while and you have over 170,000 followers on LinkedIn. But I found you first, I think 2 weeks ago, when one of your posts just went absolutely bonkers, where you talked about canceling a one-on-one with a direct report, and I think it got over 100,000 likes. And so, you've been very active on LinkedIn. You are very active on LinkedIn, but I wanted to chat with you because seeing something like that, I don't think I've ever seen a post go that viral. So that just piqued my curiosity. But today I want to dive into all things funnel-led marketing, your process, how you approach it, why you do it, how you do it, results that you're getting, etc. But before we do that, any little intro from your side, anything that you want to add to that, things that people should know about you or Fame?
Well, if 111,000 likes, by the way. So
there we go.
Right.
It's actually 111,509 likes. There we go.
Yeah, 15 million impressions.
Holy shit.
That's not even the biggest one. The other one, this was from back in, says 4 months ago on LinkedIn, 310,000 likes.
Oh my God.
Approaching 26 million impressions.
26 million.
And I'm happy to share I think I've boiled it down to 5 points as to how I think is working, or how to do it, step by step.
We'll definitely do that. I wrote that down. But anything you want you want people to know about you, Fame, your company, before we dive in?
We've started a podcast for B2B brands. It started because 5 years ago, I started a podcast when I worked for a B2B SaaS company. We signed a big deal with the 11th guest. So I was like, this has to be the holy grail of B2B marketing. If you can build relationships in the short term to get ROI, but then build the long-term brand awareness. So I left, they became the first client, still a client today. And then all we've done is have copied and pasted that process to, we have about 95, I think, clients at the moment.
Wow.
Team of 70 people, fully remote.
Love it. Very impressive. Maybe let's share first. I mean, you just shared so much credibility in terms of the content, 15 million views, 26 million views on one content. Maybe share your journey a little bit. I know you started the podcast. That's what started Fame. What's your LinkedIn journey? When did you start? How did you start? Why did you start? And then maybe a couple highlights from that journey.
The real highlight was I tried to become an entrepreneur in 2014. I left the corporate world. And I probably read somewhere that networking was a thing. And so I remember what I used to do is either me or a VA was sending a shitload of connection requests out. And then what I would do is be just ask people if they want to jump on a 15-minute call. To be honest, they were probably aligned with the thing we were selling at the time, which was virtual assistants in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. And what I would do is they would book in a call. It would come into my calendar. And then I wouldn't let myself look at who it was until 2 minutes before the call. So then I would have 2 minutes to review their profile and then decide how I was going to engage or entertain this person on the 15-minute call. That was the start of the LinkedIn journey. I also remember at that time doing some course on how to do outbound, etc., how to optimize your profile. So this was at 10 years ago, right? I've been trying to optimize it for 10 years. One of the points is how you go viral is you spend a decade doing it. Then the next time I remember looking seriously at LinkedIn was when I was in this role, 2018, I believe, when I was head of demand generation at a B2B SaaS company. And I saw people blow up with longer form copywriting. I know maybe this might have been before your time, Finn, sorry, but there was a community called Badass Founders and Marketers, and it's run by 2 guys, one guy called Josh Fletcher, one guy called Houston Golden. You remember?
Yep.
And I saw it was Josh specifically blowing up through this, what I enjoyed the long form copy posts. And so
there was the invention of broetry, right? This one-liner thing.
Exactly. The OGs.
Yeah.
And so I remember seeing it then. And also Dave Gerhardt from Drift was was popping then. And I was like, with my big ego, like, I can do this. And so I think I probably did a few posts back then, but never got anything consistent. And then it was like 2021, where I was like, now I had Fame and we were starting to grow, but I wanted to find more customers. That's when I started, like, got a bit more serious about it. But then it was only 2024, this year, where I got really serious. And and basically, if you take the first decade of that journey, it was from 0 to 25,000 followers. And then this year started on 25,000 and now have added 145,000 in the 11 months.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Almost 150,000.
But you know the story of the bamboo tree? You plant the seed, you water it for 6 months, you don't see anything. And then it grows 12 meters in a week. This is how I see the process.
Well, so then tell me what changed beginning of 2024. What did you do differently? What breakthrough insight did you have that 10 years you go from 0 to 25,000 followers, and then within less than 12 months, you add almost 150,000 followers on top of that. So what happened? What changed?
We can go through the 5 points. So this is what I think leads to these viral posts. First one, and this, again, like this, it wasn't a change, but this is definitely something that helped, is copywriting skills. So I spent 10 years trying to sell things on the internet. And so even if I had little talent, which maybe I have a tiny bit of talent at this, I'm not sure, but even with little talent, you're going to get good if you do it for 10 years. So just learning how to write persuasively. Mm-hmm. So that's step one. The best way to do that is to copy old school sales letters.
Yep. Let's maybe go through all the 5 points, and then I have some follow-up questions for each, maybe resources or how people can learn to write better, etc.
Cool. Next, if I actually engage, I used to like post and be like, why would I want to comment on other people's stuff? So like literally, and it's a grind. I do all the comments myself. It's like engaging, trying to reply to every comment, and then also trying to comment like 10 to 30 times a day on other people's stuff. So that changed. Again, it wasn't a drastic change, but at the start of 2024, it'd been roughly 2 years where I've been posting with a few breaks 5 times a week. So I do think you need, like, for the algo to be like, this person's like, I want to give this person some love. You need to show the love first to the algo, you know? So consistency paired with that is learning. So I was posting 5 times a day, a few months off maybe in the 2 years. But what I was doing then is
5 times a week, right?
5 times a week, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I was doing then was whenever a post would pop, I would like go back and try to understand why. So very consistent, but also consistently trying to learn from every post. If a post like really didn't pop, then I would look back and try to work out why. And next, here's probably the easiest one, is some topics just perform a lot better than others. Off the top of my head, LinkedIn itself, all this like culture, I call it workplace. So it's like HR, leadership, management, culture, remote work, always pops off. So I did shift I have 3 pillars. There's business, marketing, and workplace. And so I did start to focus more on workplace, because that just like gets 5 to 10 times the exposure than business or marketing. And then, so that's basically what I did, I think that those are 4 steps that will work to like get you up to 1,000 likes per post. Uh-huh. But to get into the hundreds of thousands, this is the one that I've learned recently. Like from my understanding of the algorithm, obviously the more comments you get, the better. Obviously not obviously, but what I understand is that bigger comments, like not just emojis or a couple of words, help you more. And then add on top of that, if that big chunky comment comes from somebody that doesn't know you, e.g. is not like a direct connection or second or even third degree, the better. Okay. So then the question becomes, if we want to go viral, how do we get these big chunky comments from people that don't know us? And so the strategy for both of those posts, we can link them below, is there's some nuance that's being ignored or some like absolute statement that's being made that has an obvious rebuttal.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so then maybe I look like a little bit of an idiot for ignoring that, but then I get this avalanche of comments from people pointing out the fact that I'm slightly wrong or I need to consider this. They get to look good in front of their peers, and then I get the attention from the algorithm. So that, I think, is probably the reason why those posts have popped off so much.
So to recap, first one is just learning how to write persuasively. Second one is engage every day. You try to reply to as many comments on your own post as possible, and then you also try to engage with 10 to 30 other people's posts per day. And I'm assuming this is also a thoughtful thing, not just great posts, but actually reading it, considering it, and writing something meaningful.
As much as is possible, yeah. I mean, yeah. I can't claim
of course. Not all of them are like that, but it's not just an AI bot that writes 30 comments, right? That's not going to do the job. Posting consistently is the third point. And you said actually post daily 5 times a week. Do you think that's a requirement? I see a lot of people doing really well. Adam Robinson posting maybe 2 or 3 times a week. What's your take on that?
So I actually do 7 now. I think Adam Robinson's obviously killing it. But he's like, I think one of the reasons why he's killing it is he's running a 25 million AR company, you know. He can like create really good content. I think that for me, it's important to have the habit. Mm-hmm. And so it either has to be 7 or it has to be 5, I think. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I would drop out of the habit. And I just went with 7 because I just wanted to go harder at it.
Do you use scheduling tools?
No.
Yep. What's your, I have heard opinions going both ways. Do you have an opinion on using scheduling tools hurting your reach?
I don't have an opinion. The reason why I don't use it is because I think it's important to get that engagement in like around the time you post, and therefore you have to be online anyway. So if I'm going to be online, I may as well just copy it from a Google Doc into the post. Also gives me the chance to like edit anything or like tweak something last minute.
Yep. And then the fourth point is, you said, just understanding which points or which topics perform well on LinkedIn in general. And you mentioned kind of this HR, workplace, culture, content particularly does well. And so you made that shift to focus a lot more of your content around that pillar rather than, I don't know, podcasting or B2B marketing or other things. Is that just because it's such a broad topic, because it kind of applies to everyone at the company? When you talk about podcasting or marketing, that applies to the marketing team. If you talk about culture and people, that's like everyone at any company almost.
Yeah, exactly right. If you think about what you're doing when you're posting, you're like inserting this data into the algorithm, and then the more attention you get from every other person on the network, the better your post will do. And so therefore, if you want to get more engagement from the people on the platform, you have to understand what the people in the platform have in common. This is why LinkedIn obviously works, because everyone has LinkedIn in common. This is why firing someone works, because LinkedIn is like a work platform, you know. If you spoke about like being a Republican on Trump's social network, you're probably going to get more engagement.
Right. And then the fifth point was, what really drives the algorithm to push content is when you get big chunky content from people who don't know you. So third degree connections, people who, I mean, it makes sense, I would say. I would underwrite that from my own anecdotal data. And so the way to try to engineer that a little bit is by ignoring a nuance or by making a slightly too one-sided argument. So you're getting people to point out that obvious gap that you left in there.
Exactly. To make this a bit realer for the audience.
Yeah.
I'll share the 2 points from those 2 posts. So the one that got 300K.
If you feel comfortable or you can, sharing your screen definitely would be very cool.
Yeah. Let's do that. Okay, let me know you can see it.
Now.
Okay, so here's the one with 26. And
Brilliant.
even the comments, to be fair, it's 4 months ago. So the comments have dried up. Anyway, so I actually didn't realize this when I posted it, but the new actually, maybe I can test you. Looking at the post, what do you think? And you might not be able to get it because I didn't plan this.
Yeah.
What do you think is the nuance that riled people up the most?
All right, so people who don't see this on their screen, the post is I was in a no agenda one-on-one with a team member. She said she was going to work from another country for 6 weeks. She went on to explain why. I explained that it's all good. We don't need to know why. You decide how you work. Different country each month, all good. Work from the garden, all good. Couple of hours off for doctor's appointment, all good. Work from Weatherspoons after dropping the kids off at school, all good. Your life is your life. We don't track time, we track output. I would say the thing that I would probably comment on is that it sounds a little bit too good to be true, and most people when they're in a different country each month, their focus and productivity just goes to shit because it's like you're figuring out travel, you're figuring out Airbnb, you're in a new environment. Like it sounds really nice on the surface, but in practicality, that just doesn't work. That someone's actually, I don't know, that's like my best guess, but what do you think?
Yeah, we definitely got comments on that. I agree with your point. But actually, what I wasn't considering here, or what I didn't mention, or what I clearly hadn't researched, is the tax and regulatory consequences of somebody working in a different country for 6 weeks. Let's have a look, see if we've got any. These, I don't think we've got any here. But if I was to go to most relevant, we go to most relevant. No, it's not going to show. Anyway, so that's the first test. Now I think you might be aware of the second one because you've seen the post, but let's just give another example. This one's a bit easier. And actually I kind of did plan this one a little bit.
Okay. So this post says, can you just scroll down and show the metrics first? This one's the 111,000 likes, 15 million impressions. Okay. Let's go up what it says. I canceled a weekly one-on-one with a direct report. Why? The OKRs were on track. They were happy in their role. There was no value I could add. So why have the meeting? Why waste that time? Because I'm insecure about doing my job. It's called macro managing. Hint, it's the opposite of micromanaging. Here's how it works. They work where they want. You provide the insights, tools, and resources. You remove barriers, blockers, distractions. They decide the how. You trust them. In other words, you empower, you support. Then you mind your own business instead of theirs. There's one more sentence I can't agree, question mark. Okay. I would say I'm guessing the obvious nuance is that you canceled the one-on-one, and from how you wrote it, it sounds like you just kind of looked at the KPIs and you decided they were good, so you just decided to cancel it for both of you. When what you probably should have done is ask them first, because maybe they have a problem or a challenge or question that you just don't know about that they would have liked to do on that call for.
That's exactly right. Literally sounds like you wrote one of the comments. Let me see if we've got any. Yeah, that's essentially it. Like I should have asked them first because one-on-ones are also for supporting your team.
Right. Interesting. And so you intentionally left that out. How do you feel about, because I think a lot of people will listen to this and will think this is baiting engagement. You are artificially saying something crazier or more polarizing than it should be. And it's not because you actually fully believe that or because you just genuinely forgot it, but you kind of engineered it that way. So I think there will be a lot of people who will have a little bad taste in their mouth hearing this. How do you feel about that, or how do you think about it?
Valid. Like I published this strategy on LinkedIn and on the newsletter, and there were people I'm not following anymore. I think they're valid in feeling that way. My job is to get the most attention as possible for my business without lying or being deceitful. And so for me, the upside of that overcomes that downside.
Now, tell me what happens when you have a post that gets 26 million likes, 26 million impressions, or 12 million impressions. Like, just tell me, because I've had some posts that did well for me, and it's like 70,000 impressions, 200,000 impressions, and like things just kind of blow up a little bit in your world. You get lots of connection requests, lots of messages, you see inbound coming in. It's really exciting. But obviously, you have it on a very different scale. So, talk to me just a little bit about the experience of what happens when when a post goes crazy like that.
Here, this is organic clicks to Fame's site.
Wow.
So that post was getting around 5 million impressions, or it had like 3 or 4 days was getting 5 million impressions a day. And so at that point, it basically meant we were getting an extra 180 people coming to our site.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good. And then our main call to action is like request a proposal to get a podcast. And so we normally, on average, get like 2 to 4, but on those days we get like 15 to 20. Now the caveat there is that they were not the most qualified. If you think about it, someone who's not planning to do a podcast sees the post, goes to the website, and then decides to request a proposal, is not going to be as qualified as somebody who's like read a blog post, search for B2B podcast agency. These other spikes were like lesser viral posts.
Yeah.
Website traffic. So again, on that day, we had 6,000 total visits. Yeah, you can see there 2,900 from organic social on that Monday in June. So basically sent on the day, I would have got 5 million impressions on LinkedIn, and it sent 3,000 sessions to our site.
Yeah.
Then you also get like a lot of people coming inbound, like inviting you on the pod, like an example of that post and this show, right? That post you saw last week. What else?
How do you manage it? I mean, you must be getting tons of DMs, tons of connection requests. I mean, there's thousands of comments that obviously you have no time to even answer all of them. Like, do you just spend like 12 hours a day on LinkedIn trying to work through your backlog, or do you have team members in there cleaning it up, or do you just like at some point, so you have 19,000 pending connection requests?
Yeah. So
there's no way you can look at any of these or all of these.
Yeah. So it's a good question. I do spend a lot of time. Like on these big posts, I haven't been able to reply to them all, but I do reply to all DMs. On connection requests, now what we do is every day a VA will come in and we'll accept connection requests from people that we'd like want to know, like whether they're ideal customers, ideal partners, or just cool people. Yeah. And we have guidelines for that. They accept and they send a welcome message being like, hey, happy to connect. And then I just then manage the DMs. Probably shouldn't share that. And yeah, I feel if that bad in the DMs, maybe it's like 10 a day I have to reply to. Yeah. I just handle it.
I mean, I was even surprised that you saw and replied to my connection request, because I was like, after this post, I must be buried under thousands of things. I don't think we were connected. I think I literally sent you a connection request, and in that connection request, I asked for whether you'd be open to come on a podcast.
Yeah, so that's a good example of this process working, because I think I used to go through it like once a week and accept myself, but then now every day we accept, and then let's just see let's see if that did happen. That's good proof that our process is working well. Yeah, Finn. So, so the first message is from you, but presumably that was after we accepted the connection request. So,
No, that
Yeah.
message was in my connection request that, hey, Tom, any chance you come on a
Oh, it
podcast?
was okay.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
yeah. So, yeah. Also, if there's a custom message that doesn't look like completely
right.
ridiculous, we accept it.
Yeah, got it. Now I want to get your take on. I literally a couple days ago posted about this Alex Hormozi. You're familiar with him?
Yeah.
Yep. He recently announced a change in his content strategy, and he basically talked about how they were running an experiment internally for 6 months to post more broad content. So he's kind of known for his kind of business breakdown, super long, 30-minute, 60-minute YouTube videos just talking about how to get more customers, how to retain customers, how to, etc. And so they were experimenting with broader topics like relationship advice and fitness content. And he basically talked about how they decided to move back away from that again, because even though in the last 6 months when they were experimenting with this more broad content, they got more impressions and more likes and more reach than ever before, but the audience was way less relevant to them. It got diluted because people who watched the relationship videos wanted relationship advice and they were not interested in business content, just as the people who came for the fitness content were not interested in the business content. And obviously he creates content for a very specific purpose, which is to drive deal flow for his private equity company. And so even though it generated a lot more views and likes and impressions, he decided to still go back to the more narrow content because it ended up creating a more targeted audience. What's your sense on that? Because obviously you kind of mentioned during that, when that post went viral, you went from 2 to 4 proposal requests per day on average to 15 to 20 per day, but they were also less relevant. Now, if you would talk about B2B podcasting and thought leadership content, how to build a podcast, how to grow a podcast, how to run a podcast, case studies, etc., obviously you would never get a post that gets 26 million views, but the audience that you would attract would be much more relevant. It's generally, it would be B2B marketers, people interested in actually building a podcast. What's your opinion on it?
Yeah. I think the assumption in that question is that my primary goal is to get customers for fame. My primary goal of doing LinkedIn. Is that right?
I guess, yeah, right.
Yeah. I think it's a bit broader than that. Like in more recently, have almost trying to step a bit away from the fame growth function, but just because it's going to be a more valuable company if they're not relying on me doing LinkedIn. Now, doesn't mean it isn't a goal. Like I would gladly accept customers from my LinkedIn profile, but I think there's really like 4 types of people that I'm trying to attract. So there's fame customers, fame partners. So both of those are growth for fame. Fame hiring. An interesting result this year. So March this year, when a earlier post popped off, we went from 50 applications for our main role, which is the account manager role, to 500 in that month.
Wow.
So that helps, and that's also have greater alignment with the workplace content pillar, right? So that's probably the big benefit there. And then the final one is like entrepreneurs. In the future, I would like to start other companies and not have to do all the work myself. And so I'd start them with other people. So I would say that there's like 4 people that I'm trying to attract. But I do totally agree. Like a high level post about culture or remote work is not going to attract buyers for our company.
Yeah.
But one thing I'll add that I learned actually from Chris Donnelly, you probably know him, he's big on LinkedIn. He's got quite advanced like LinkedIn game. Oh, you should check out Chris Donnelly, like 750,000 followers. He's
Okay.
like the
Probably seen him around, but doesn't ring a bell right now.
He's probably the OG of this new wave of influencers. Anyway, what he told me was that what he will do if he's planning a post that have like there's more bottom of the funnel that has a CTA, whether that's for me like a job post or if I'm going to post a case study of fame that I haven't actually done that. Then the day before, he'll do a very high level viral post. So that then when you post the next day, that bottom of the funnel post will get more because the algo is you primed the algo for it. So that was something interesting I learned that's related.
Interesting. Couple follow-up questions. So it seems like you do a lot of image posts and specifically kind of like selfie style, you having a coffee or something like that. Is that because you like it, because it builds some personal connection, or do you feel like if you would have said the same thing, let's take those two posts, the 26 million and 15 million posts, but without an image, have you tried that? Would it do way worse in your opinion? What do you think?
Combination. But before I answer the question, let's have a bit of a LinkedIn history lesson. The old guy who used to be like the CTO of the Daily Mirror, it's a newspaper here in the UK, called Oleg Vishnopolsky. Massive on LinkedIn. I think 2 million followers. And he used to write these kind of like HR story posts where he'd like tell a story of him hiring these people for his team. That was his style posts were popularized by another lady called Bridget Hyacinth, 4 million followers. She's like the OG of these HR story posts. Big fans of both of them.
Is it like this sob story? Like if I met someone, they were like unemployed and homeless, but they really crushed the interview, and so I hired them type of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Nailed it. And so I respect those posts and I respect those people. And then there's another guy
if
called
they're
Matt.
true, I don't know if they're all true. You think they're all true?
A lot of people say that to me because I write a lot of these posts, and I'm happy to say that everyone that I post is like 95% true. Anyway, another guy called Matt Barker, who a legend on LinkedIn, you know him. He, in my opinion, popularized the like lifestyle photo with a post. So all I've done, like I haven't innovated, is I've taken the HR story from Bridget and Oleg, combined it with Matt Barker lifestyle photo posts, and that's my sole innovation, which isn't really an innovation. It's just copying these people. Though I'm not word for word copying, obviously. And so your initial question was, why the images? So in the journey in 2024 of learning, we said being consistent and learning, I found that anything with a picture typically would perform better, ideally if it's related to the post. But even if it slightly isn't, if you explain it in the comments, it's typically fine. Then what I found out is that a picture where like your face is like, I don't know, 20, 25%, it's like close up, 20, 25% of the picture, and you have sunglasses on, again, like for whatever reason, like probably humans are like, basically, it's like how many people stop scrolling when they're scrolling through, and for whatever reason, a face and I don't know, sunglasses really helps, but if you look at those posts, those two big ones, both have sunglasses. That like stops more people scrolling for whatever like evolutionary reason. Mm-hmm. So in short, yes, it was to get more impressions, but the other reason why I think it's good is that if really what we're trying to do here is get more people to know, like, and trust you, so when they want to come and work for you or buy your thing, they'll do it, then you want them to see your face. And obviously video is better than that, but I'm not good at video, so it has to do image.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think this applies to your viral post, but I do feel like a lot of people overdo the selfie. And I think oftentimes what I hear from people is that anecdotally they get more likes if they attach a selfie. And I think that's true, but I think that's true because if you have a network of, let's say, 3,000 connections, these are probably for most people that have actually met in some way or form or connected with them. And so if you post about some subject matter expertise content about how to build a podcast from scratch and a podcast strategy, most of your network will not find that relevant or interesting. And so if that's what the hook is about, they'll just keep scrolling and not engage with the post at all. But if there's at least a selfie of you, they'll be like, oh, Tom, I know Tom. Tom is a cool guy. He's having a coffee. Cool. Like, and they'll keep scrolling, even though they will still not interact with the actual topic of the post because B2B podcasting is still not relevant to that person. But they're like, oh, cool, Tom, I'll leave a like for him. And so I think a lot of people just do them because it gets them more likes, but not really from the right people.
I think that's valid. Even if they're not the right people, if they're good, like if one of your contacts likes and comments, then you're more likely to be shown to their network who could be the right people. Let's just also clarify what you mean by selfie. My understanding of selfie is like you taking a picture of yourself, which right. I'm actually banned of posting those by my girlfriend, so I can't do. If you scroll back, you might find a couple, but I'm not allowed. And so all of the
Right, they're
pictures
all yeah.
taken by
Taken by
someone
your
else.
girlfriend?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. She used to be a photographer, so very lucky there. I have a question for you, actually, Vin.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on like the long form video feed and like how that's impacting reach, or like is it something you're adopting for you or
The
your
real
clients?
the real thing.
Yeah.
I mean, but from what I hear right now, you need an actual contact at LinkedIn to help you do it. Because right now there's no way to actually upload a reel like that. You need someone to do it for you and place it in that feed. I think
So
it's
that's
worth
not what
experiment.
so my understanding, and maybe because you're in Germany,
Yeah.
now like the feed is on the app, right? You have the tab wherever, like
I
here,
think that might be
that
my
video
German
feed.
app then. They
So I
didn't
just
roll it
lost
out
my
yet.
audio because
Yeah, I think it might just be because I have the German app and they just roll
yeah,
out things
maybe.
last. Um, I don't know. I have not experimented with it for that reason. I think clearly I think it always happens with these things. It's like underpriced because most people just are not used to posting there. And so there's a lot more attention than supply. And so I think again, it just comes down to like, does it come naturally to you? Is this a format that works for you? And so, yeah.
I think you're right. It's not a format that works for me, but I have been experimenting with it. And let me just show you something that I think is quite weird. So ever since for these videos, I think this was after the feed was introduced in the UK. And
Yeah.
it got a lot more likes, I think, because of the copywriting on the post. I'm talking about like a LinkedIn beef. So I think it got more likes than normal, but it definitely got, sorry, the impressions is like slightly higher than normal. But then if I go
Yeah.
to view analytics, um, the video views is like much more
13,000.
than I would have had previously. And
But
then
does this show up on the real feed on mobile?
I think that my understanding is that any vertical video you add will go into there, or if
No.
is that not your understanding?
No. At least not until like last week when I looked into this a little bit more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. They're somehow getting a lot more views than they historically would.
Interesting.
So let's just go back to one like where before the feed existed, because it wouldn't definitely not be 22,000 views. Let's say this one. I wonder how. Well, yeah, it's also not vertical, but let's have a look. Maybe I'm just okay. Yeah. Oh no, it's actually not reporting the views, so maybe it's just something's changed. Anyway, okay. Inconclusive. Um,
Inconclusive.
but yeah,
Okay.
I basically bought a short form video editing productized service. One of the reasons was because of this LinkedIn feed.
Right.
So I'm hoping that it is gonna have an impact.
Right. Yeah, interesting. A couple other follow-up questions. Do you use any pods? I know some people have different opinions about them. Do you use anything where like the second you post, you have a bunch of people who comment on it to help boost the reach?
Yeah, so I didn't for the whole year until like a month or two ago. I got invited into one where I like really like and respect all the other people. And so we do that. Like everyone posts, I won't say who, but you can probably tell by looking at comments. I am not sure of the value
Mm-hmm.
apart from like, I think if somebody is constantly like every day commenting on all your posts, I think over time the LinkedIn will deprioritize that comment. It's like if a massive person for the first time comments on your posts, especially if they're outside your network, I think that'll have an impact. But if for the hundredth time someone does that's done it for 100 days before, I don't think it does. But that doesn't mean that a pod doesn't have value. Like I get value. Sometimes we chat about stuff in there, like about LinkedIn. And also I'm forcing myself to consume their content, and they're all pretty good at LinkedIn as well. So I can see what they're doing. So I'm not sure if it has that much value for like extra impressions.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other benefits.
Yeah. I talked to a founder 2 days ago who is paying a LinkedIn top voice who has 180,000 followers, $500 a
For
month
comments.
for comments. And he said it has a big impact when he sometimes forgets to add it to the queue because he needs to like internally send it to that person to comment right away. He gets like 10 to 15 likes, and when that person comments, he gets like 60 likes.
Interesting. Yeah. It's a
So
great business to sell comments. I don't do it, but if someone wants to buy comments, reach out because I have to comment on other people's stuff anyway. I may as well get paid
But
for it.
I think I think the reason why it feels shitty and shady to most people is because y y you when you have a paid endorsement, you need to disclose that, right? When someone pays Tom Hunt and say, "I'm going to give you $500 for you to talk about my thing," you need to disclose that. And so I think this is kind of that. Like someone's paying you to kind of endorse them and boost them and use your followers and reach to promote them. And so I think it's fine, but I think then the same rules should apply. And I think because it doesn't and it's kind of secret, and obviously this top voice also doesn't sell it publicly for that reason, because they know that most people feel that that's kind of shitty and it kind of devalues their brand. So it's kind of a behind doors. You have to know someone who knows someone to get you in, and so it's like it's a little weird, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like you, I don't think legally you have to put the ad hashtag on a comment if it's paid. So it's like a loophole in the marketing laws. So that's a good point.
Right, but not everything that's legal is ethical. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a wild wide west. Another question I wanted to ask you is how do you approach repurposing? Because I know that you sometimes reuse a post when it did really well. What are your kind of rules there? How long do you wait? How well does a post need to do for you to kind of take it and use it again? Do you make any tweaks to it? Yeah, what's your kind of repurposing flow?
So the first thing we do as a company is that there's like 5 to 10 people that post regularly, and there's just one of the people in the growth team will review everyone's post, and then twice a week take 2 well-performing ones, reword it because you have to talk like you're not that person, and then post to the company page. I think it's a very low cost way of like getting intention on a company page because you don't have to create any content. So that's the first thing to do. In terms of repurposing, in an ideal world, I would never have to repurpose and every post would be unique, but sometimes I have a bad day or sometimes I just don't have anything lined up. So I will then go back and when I basically go back through my posts manually on LinkedIn and I'm like, A, do I like that post? B, how did it perform? C, how long ago was it? And D, do I have an idea that I can use to refresh it? I don't think, or like only a couple of times I've like copied it and then literally posted it again because it just doesn't feel good. But
Yeah.
I will do it in order to hit the cadence. So typically it'll be from more than 3 months ago, and I'm able to rewrite, I don't know, 20 to 30% of it, change the image, etc. And sometimes I've like maybe you've seen this, but sometimes the new one can actually perform better than the old one.
But oftentimes also worse.
Most of the time worse, yeah, but sometimes better.
So like, do you think in 3 months? So you said at least 3 months kind of for you want to wait. So like in 3 months,
Ideally,
you're gonna do the
always.
one-on-one, canceling the one-on-one again. But do you think you're gonna make a change to it? I feel like that's just personally, I don't mind repurposing and reposting because I don't think there's anything wrong or bad about that. And especially if you wait 3 months, like there's plenty of new people in your connections and followers who have not seen any of your previous content. And if it added value 3 months ago and it's still relevant, like why not use it again? I feel like it's a risk to try to change the copy because clearly something worked about it and you're not really sure exactly what about it. I mean, clearly the topic in general, but you know.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I just don't feel like the other thing you have to consider is like your enjoyment.
Yeah.
And I feel better if I like created something unique and original. Like even these big viral posts, because I just have the formula and I took it from Matt Barker and Oleg, etc. I don't feel like super great when I'm releasing that into the world. But then there's a series I'm doing now on Fridays, which is telling the story of this acquisition, where it's like there's quite a unique thing, maybe not that many people do that, and it's all like just written in like my own style, And so I think there is that criteria of like how proud are you and how good does it make you feel?
How would you describe what is persuasive writing, and then what are some resources you would point people to, books, etc., to learn to write more persuasively?
How would I describe writing persuasively? I think it's not sure if this answers your question, but it's basically like every word you put on the page have to have a purpose to get someone to do one thing. That's important. One thing. If you add in two, you reduce the chance of them doing anything. So if we want to go behind the scenes a little bit, I'll show you the post structure that I use for every post. So now you see this. I'll just have to get it actually. We're going to go behind the scenes to LinkedIn. All right, cool. Yeah. So for every post I create, I start with this Google Doc. And so basically this explains, this is for me the number one tool for writing persuasively. It's a very common copywriting framework called AIDA. Mm-hmm. And essentially means that you just have to follow these four. So you can ignore this. This is what image are we going to add, and what's going to be the first comment. You just have to follow these steps. If you follow these steps, then you're more likely to be able to write persuasively. Mm-hmm. So step one, how do we grab the attention? Obviously on LinkedIn, this is massive. It's just the first 2 lines that you get. And what I've been doing recently is adding the line breaks. So actually only get that one line. If you look at the 2 viral posts, it's just one strong line, nothing in the second one. And it's like very striking. So that's attention. Once you have the attention, you kind of need to like build some like get people to read the rest of the post, maybe add some credibility. I think Matt Barker's got a better structure than I do here. And then we can start to transition into like getting people to take the action. So this is like really great if you're trying to sell something. But if we think about the LinkedIn post, really what we're trying to do, if we want to get attention, is we want to get the comment. And so here, like towards the middle of the second half of the post, we're like, how can we communicate something that makes people feel something that will then ideally increases the chances that they comment? And then the agree, again, that was taken from, I think it was Oleg first started doing that. I just do it on all of my posts, even though everyone takes a piss, because I feel like it's like maybe one of the best words to get people to take action and write the comment. So I follow this for every post.
It's agree ?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then just to stay on here, a couple follow-up. First, obviously image makes sense. First comment, what do you want to see here? How do you post it? Do you post it right away? What's the point of it? I think a lot of people don't understand that. Yeah,
so post right away. I also post and like from the company page and the podcast page, just to like get the company and podcast some more exposure. Probably doesn't help the attention of the post. First comment, it will be to typically, because I try and shoehorn an image into most posts as for the reasons we've discussed. And again, ideally the image is connected to the post, but sometimes it isn't. And so then you give context to the image in the first comment. Also, if there's an actual CTA, like typically one post a week I do will be a CTA to a podcast episode, then I'm linking to the actual thing. So if I was selling something, which I kind of rarely do, then the link to the thing I'm selling is in the first comment.
Mm-hmm. Now let's, on the first part, attention, right? That's what most people call the hook. I think a lot of people who start getting into LinkedIn and take a course or listen to some people who are, let's say, to some extent successful on LinkedIn understand that they should have a good hook and that it's important, and that they have 2 lines on mobile and 3 lines on desktop. Still, most people write bad hooks. What to you makes a good hook?
Something that stops people scrolling and makes them want to hit the see more part.
And so what are usually the ingredients that will do that?
That's a good question. It's not a question, like no question marks. I tell my team this all the time. It has to be a statement. I need a statement that's like slightly striking, striking but relatable. The best one I ever did, I actually had to delete this post because it got too much backlash. And the hook was, I can't remember the word for word, but it was similar to the ones on these viral posts. And it was about firing someone. And it wasn't. Like there was a good uplifting message to firing someone. But it was probably a bit too striking, because that's like a very emotional thing for people in general.
Yep.
But let's look here. We'll just take these 3 examples. Now, this post, this was an announcement for an acquisition. Now, it wasn't like this post didn't do that well.
Yeah.
But like the big thing here is just the announcement. Like this change. This like here's why TechCrunch does so well. Like something's changed, something new has happened. So that's why I just put that there. Here again, you can see the double space here because I actually think on mobile or on desktop, I think you only get these 2 lines now. And I didn't want to have the second line because I just want a nice clean hook. So that's why all of these actually, I know that one didn't. All of these have got that line break there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like simple. Oh yeah, Matt Barker says something about max amount of words, like max 8 words in the hook. Like it has to be easy to digest, simple words, striking, and ideally relatable. Mm-hmm. So that's there. And then here, this one again, probably too many words. But again, similar, relatable, easy to read.
And I mean, both of them have a cliffhanger, right? You say, I was in a no agenda one-on-one with a team member. She said she was going to work from another country for 6 weeks, and then cliffhanger. And now people are like, what's going to happen? Are you going to fire her? Are you going to allow her to do it? Are you not going to allow her to do it? People probably imagine themselves going to their boss at some point and asking to be able to work remotely for a couple of weeks, but they were scared of what's going to happen. And so this is kind of the tension. It's like, what's going to happen now?
Yeah, good breakdown. I'm going to have to leave in 3 minutes, by the way. Do you have anything to just
last question then here, I guess. What do you think about people like Adam Robinson who kind of do it very differently? I mean, his hooks are almost always 3 lines, 4 lines, a lot of text, multiple sentences, and kind of almost breaking not all the principles, but breaking what you just kind of try to explain. 8 words, have the line breaks there, simple sentence, and it clearly works for him. What do you think?
I have a lot of respect for people that have more more like, I don't know, what's the word? I'm like less shameless. More shameless. Like I'm just like milking it, right? So I'm gonna, and the reason for that is that I just like, it's just a fun thing for me.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is that I'm going to grow faster, but I probably will end up getting worse results. Adam, so basically there's like the substance and then there's how you dress it up. So I'm like, okay on substance, but I'm like very good at dressing up.
Yeah.
And so that's why I've grown so fast. Adam Robinson, his substance, his business is like 5 times the size of mine and probably 20 times as valuable. So he's got like great insights into doing it for ages, a bit older. So his substance is epic. He doesn't dress it up as well because maybe he doesn't care about it or maybe he doesn't know about it. But he's still at 100,000 followers, because so we're like slightly different. If you don't have substance and you can't dress it up, you're not going to do well. But if you have less substance and you dress it up, you can still do well, So
all right.
I think Adam Robinson could do better, but I actually don't think he wants to. I don't think he cares about building like my big metric is like followers and monthly impressions, which it probably doesn't align with his goals just to get free trials on his software product, So
yeah. All right, Tom, thank you for your time. I think there were a lot of interesting bits in here. I'm sure this will also get some reactions from people. I'm sure some people like it or hate it, but I think taking the behind the scenes were super valuable for people to understand what goes on for someone who goes as viral as you were able to go on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for your time and all the insights.
Yeah, thanks so much. I really enjoyed it.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Cheers, man.
All right. Cheers.